know that if you cultivate a good garden, there are going to be people that don't like that. And so they're going to want to draw attention away from your garden or just burn it. What is a word?
How am I talking right now? Like I'm not even thinking about it, just spewing out words.
Our sensory systems are so profound. We hear our own BS when we say it. When I say, yeah, I'll be there, or I know I'm not going to do it. And you know what? The other person knows too. Text messaging is a whole other thing because it opens up how other people have learned to hear. We all just have a voice in our head that is doing the filtering / interpreting. What I love about our technology is that it's given us this opportunity to recognize that there is the long form and the short form. You ever get on the phone and you know you have 5 minutes and you don't tell them you have 5 minutes, and then you get pissed at them for violating the 5 minutes you didn't tell them that you had? One thing that tells the truth is your tone.
All right, Marshall, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Listen. All right. Now,
I'm doing lie. Great. Just make something up.
Look, I'm good. Don't ask me anything else.
Are you sure?
Yeah. No, I'm good. Yeah. So what we doing? We podcasting. Yeah, no, nothing, man. Nothing. I'm straight, bro. I'm straight. I'm good. I'm ready to go. Let's just, yeah. You see, it's that question is, and how many of us is that our opening question? Hey, what's going on? How are you? And it's the first invitation to lie. How many of us have answered that question honestly? Or how many of us have heard someone ask the question in the way that they ask it? You can tell they really don't care, right? So you're like, listen, if you really wanted to know, I could tell you. In fact, I had a friend of mine, he was in acting school. He said, he walked down the hall one day. He said, hey, Brad, this is him. Hey, man. How you doing? So this guy turned around and said, yo, don't you ask me ever again how I'm doing. He turned around and said, what's wrong with you? He said, you asked me how I was doing and you kept walking. If you cared, that's not how you would have handled that. And so when I heard that story, I was like, yeah.
I don't
ever want to be cussed out like that in the hallway at school. But yeah. We do. Right?
What's a better approach?
So
ask someone like kind of what's up or check in with somebody.
Man.
Or just maybe have the time?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's a good idea to have some time. Let's just say you get in your Lyft. You're trying to check the temperature of your driver. You go, is the beginning of your shift or the end? What happens there is like, one, if they're just getting started, they're like, yeah, I'm just getting started. I'm just doing this. They start telling you their story of how, of why or what. And if they say it's the end, and I get a lot of those. And it's a different texture when you're the last ride because they're ready to go home. And that's that check-in right there for them. It gives them the opportunity to let you know where they're on their way to. And essentially, if you're asking questions based on like, hey, where you heading today, those kinds of things are directional because we're always on the way somewhere. And sometimes we ask questions and we stop people from where they're going. Like stop what you were thinking, stop what you were doing to answer my inquiry about your status update. And you gotta have a certain level of connection with people to feel comfortable with that, right? Like, under what circumstances do you feel like, who are the people that you know that you can ask that question to get that status update? And they're going to give you the truth, right?
What about this question? Hey, what sucks? Coming from the other side,
Yeah.
Like maybe people will be a little more truthful.
Perhaps.
They'll be like, well, I'm kind of upset about this, and they're kind of bummed about that.
Right. Because the invitation to ask, like, how are you doing? How often is it based on the expectation that I'm going to give you a good answer? That I'm going to give you something exciting? My highlight reel of Instagram. Right. Like, and I don't always have one of those. Like some days, like, yeah, this just didn't make the cut. But you ask somebody, hey, what sucks? Wow, you really want to know? And don't you see how people kind of like, they look at you weird?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, well, let me tell you, I got some trash here. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man, it's that first invitation, whenever you're having a conversation with some or you're engaging with them, you're inviting them to expose. And there's levels to that comfort. And sometimes, especially I think with how we have the internet now, we kind of expect everyone to just tell us the tea. Like, yeah, what do you mean? Like we post, we make our personality known. So why can't I just ask you what's up and you just tell me everything? I remember when I didn't give my number to strangers, and there's a lot of strangers with my number now.
Yeah.
And then they even tell me that they're going to give my number to more strangers, and I agreed to it. Like, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, we're in a different place for sure.
You know, something stupid that I did, maybe it was a few months ago. After I said it, I'm like, wow, you're stupid. Why'd you do that? And then let me just, you know, me and my coworker Owen, he helps me edit these videos for YouTube.
Yeah.
Came out one day and he gets out of his car. I see him, I see his body language, etc. I'm like, man, you're looking tired. What's up? Or like, I said, you're looking tired. Yeah. What's up? And then after I said it, I was just like, fuck. And then, you know, we were working, and then, you know, he told me some stuff that might have been going on. And he's like, and you know, when you ask someone something, you probably should start with, you're looking tired. I'm like, dog, I know. Yeah. That was like, I know. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have phrased it that way. But I know a lot of people probably do the same thing. Like they'll see someone and maybe they're concerned,
right? Like
I was, and like, you're looking kind of tired. And it's just, so I'm curious, like, how would you have people approach these situations? Because we have so many people in our lives that we want to help, maybe, and we want to communicate with effectively. Yeah. But what I did is not the way to do it.
Yo, well, you listen, you know, you tell somebody that baby's ugly, you know, you know, you're like, even if it's true. And I thought all babies are cute. Nah. Yo, it broke my brain when I was like on a train one day.
Especially in the beginning. Like when they were kind of a more newborn.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I thought nature predisposes us to be taken care of from the jump.
Like 10 years ago, I met this baby that looked like an old man.
Oh yeah.
His name was Jean-Claude. And I looked at him like, does he have a mustache? I was like, why does this baby look stressed? It was so, I felt so bad.
Sometimes
like,
babies
crazy?
have like a frown sometimes.
Like, yo.
Frowny baby.
Right. Like, bro, you've been here for 3 months. It can't be that hard already. Yo, I was at the pizza shop last night, and this is what happens. This is how I know I'm getting a little older. So all I heard was 16, already married, been divorced. Ooh. I looked up, and it was definitely 60. Right. So it's a commercial. She was saying 60, been married, been divorced. But in my head, I heard 16, already married and divorced. Yeah, my ears. They're getting there. But yeah, you tell somebody their baby's ugly, you have a problem. But the thing that you're like, why did I bring that up? Actually, why did I bring that up? I'm actually curious. Give me a second. Why did I reference that? Age. Old looking babies, Benjamin Button syndrome. That's what it was. Good. So the if you go to somebody and say, long day, huh? That is, I'm giving you the opportunity to say, look, you know, you've probably been through something. Mm-hmm. Maybe you want to talk about it, maybe you don't. But you see that breath that you took, you see that a lot. My favorite thing to do at the airport is talk to someone right after they've been yelled at. Like whoever's at the desk, if I know that I need a change and the person in front of me is giving them the business, I'm like, tick, 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 tick. I'm about to get everything I want right now. As soon as you go up there, long day, huh? Not, you just got yelled at. Not, yeah, you look like you know, you're having like looks rough on you, raw. None of that, but just time under tension. Kind of like, you know, lifting something. It's like, we can all agree that there was time under tension. We may not all agree about what it looked like, right? We might not all agree of how we looked doing it, but we can all agree that there was time under tension. And you're giving people the opportunity to, because the customer service people, or most of us, we all learn to behave with a mask. We all learn to behave with the like, look, man, everything's good, everything's fine, don't whatever. But when you come with an invitation that isn't that isn't accusatory of like the perception of failure or whatever that is. Like, man, you look like trash, bro. You,
These people are putting you through the ringer today.
Yeah, bro. Yeah.
Hey, maybe if that's your boy and they know like, it's a joke, but I kind of feel like trash too. Let me talk about it,
For sure. but you know what though? That's the thing about proximity too. With the ability to start cracking jokes. I was doing this blind martial arts training, right? It's called One Touch. So funny thing is, on the way to the blind martial arts training, I see Stevie Wonder in the airport. And I tell him I'm on my way to a blind martial arts training thing. And he laughs.
That's wild.
And his security guard, I give him a dap, and his security guard gives me a dap in a way where it immediately puts compression on my wrist. And I'm like, bro, look, you don't have to do that, but I get it. But that's just what you're on the way over. I get in the car. There is a uniform clad blind man in the back with his stick and his glass eyes. First thing I say, how fast can I start cracking blind jokes? And we all just burst out laughing. And it's risky, right? But you got to think about it. This guy is obviously blind. You know how many people probably pussyfoot around him like, oh, wow, I'm sorry for you. And it's like a breath of fresh air when it's like, yeah, you see, I'm blind. We got past that part. We can laugh about everything else around what it's like to be me and what it's like to be you looking at me or whatever. But again, it has to come, I think this comes from a place of recognizing that people are going to behave around the mask. And if you can get that out the way, people sense that, like they sense, like if I'm saying, hey, how you doing? I might be inviting you to put that mask on for me. And people don't like that. And they don't, and it's unfortunately, they don't like you for it, because it's almost like you're lying to them by the inquiry. So you don't really care. But the main thing here is there's a certain tonality of concern, a certain tonality of comfort, a certain tonality of genuine desire to connect. And that comes with time, right? You were saying earlier, like, well, what is it? Like, oh, we have the time. And if you're like, hey, how you doing? The person's like, you don't even have the time for me to really open this book. But again, like, where you going? Things, it's a tough day, tough time. Man, so this scorcher out here is crazy. I mean, people talk about making fun of the weather and asking about the weather, but it's a shared experience. We are both outside. We both know it's cold. And you're like, man, it is cold out here. And they go, puh, you're right. Oh, man, where are you heading? Oh, I'm going da-da-da-da. Okay. People then start opening up. You start hearing information. And based on where they're going, you start making inferences. Like, oh, I'm going to work. I'm going to see my family. I'm going to see my kids. Now we're talking, right? And so, yeah, bro, it's, the status update is the first place where we can start to fumble the ball. And, we can get past that part. The awkward silences and all that stuff kind of dissipate.
And these are things that you studied?
Yeah, man. I've been the perpetual new guy most of my life. I lived everywhere like 2 years. And so part of it was just, I have to very quickly establish like who I am relative to who they are. Like, I don't have time to, you go to places where people like you say you grew up here, right? Like, so there's people that you've probably, known all your life, like in this town, right? And you said you came in, your wife's from here, right? So there's probably lots more familiarity that she has in the neighborhood, and you've got to reintroduce yourself.
Yeah, she has like a shit ton of friends that are local.
Yeah. And so, life experience forces you to kind of, you figure out, okay, well, people, the tribe, which is the new group, they're like, who are you? What can you do for us? Should we beat you up? Like, those are really, when you're in school, like, that's really the questions. And so
I'm going to say at the grocery store today, when I check out, I'm going to say, don't beat me up. They're going to be like, what the hell?
Don't. But, you could open up things like that. Listen, you might want to punch me in the face for saying this. There's a group of hostage negotiators I spend time with, and one of the things that they do is it's called auditing. And basically you just go all negative directly. You're like, look, so you're probably going to want to stab me in the eye with a pencil for saying this. And they're going to think to themselves, what are you possibly going to say to me that would make me want to stab you in the eye with a pencil? And then you're like, yeah, so this is not going to go this way. And they're like, I'm not going to stab you in the face with a pencil, but yeah, it's a little disappointing. But yeah, you just go for it. So yeah, sometimes you could use that as like, look, don't beat me up. I just have this idea. And it also is interesting because they get so wild with it, because they all of these, like, you might want to staple my hands to the table. I'm like, you guys are wild with this. But I guess it gives people the option of like, if I did want to get aggressive, this person's clearly welcoming it. So then I can just talk freely, which is a very interesting psychological thing. But yeah, man, we're in and out of the tribe. You know, people are trying to decide where you fit in the pecking order and all that stuff. And that was just life experience. Eventually it became this perspective around, you know, what is it about the human voice and what is it about human communication where people are moved emotionally, up or down? Because I was a competitive poet, and the goal there was to move people up into ecstatic emotions.
What's a competitive poet? Yeah,
There we
right?
go.
Yeah, man. So slam poetry, you go on stage. They figured out if you wanted people to listen to poetry in a bar, let them be judgmental. And so they gave random people scorecards from 1 to 10, and it started in Chicago. And, you know, from 1 to 10, it's like 1 is, well, 10 is like world peace, right? And then 1 is you should never talk again on a stage with a mic, right? And you're judged randomly. And one of the things about slam is that you get a very quick readout of how you can reach people emotionally who are strangers to you in a 3-minute time period. It's a very small window to make an impression. And so the direction though is up. I want to say something so powerful, so profound, so moving. 10. The other way though is, how do you take someone that's at a 10 and bring them to a 1? And that became the work after. So I competed nationally with teams and also as an individual. I left that community because a lot of it was like glorified complaining, you know, and I was just like, this is not helping me towards what I want. And I think that what I want my words to leave me and actually help people. And I'm not sure if being rewarded for talking about the problem is doing that.
You didn't want those words to like stick and carry with you, right? What we say matters, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, it's interesting now because at the time, you know, I quietly just left the community and started to do this whole voice work thing without knowledge, but a knowing. So there's a lot of times where we have knowledge based on like citations. Like they figured out, they discovered the thing. They're like, we figured out that men should spend time with their male friends 2 hours a week for their health. Like, because Oxford said. But a few years ago, right? That was like on TV, it was like immature. If you were a guy and you hung out with your guy friends, you're like, oh, you're not mature enough. You can't just like, and then they're like, oh, well, actually, we made a mistake. But the thing is that there's a difference between knowledge and knowing. So at the time, I just recognized with the knowing, I was like, this isn't working. This year, they just came out with the knowledge that emotional language affects your hormonal system, norepinephrine, serotonin, dopamine, and they're all hit at the same time, but they're all hit in different ways.
Give an example of what you mean. Like, give an example of that.
So you hear something that bothers you. Your dopamine is your motivation. The serotonin is your sense of connection. And then you have your norepinephrine. Now, these meters and knobs, depending on how you feel about what's being said, individually, we all have a different shift. Like, so somebody might hear something, like you said, oh, this sucks. And someone saying that to you, like, it doesn't bother you. They get you hooked. They get you excited. Like, yeah, let's go. This sucks. But somebody's like, well, that sucks. That affects them differently, emotionally, hormonally. And on top of that, you have the thalamus, which is our movement center, is also affected by emotional language. So now the science shows that what we say has a direct effect on not just this random sensation of feeling, but actually how our hormones interact with each other in our little chemical soup. So yeah, you kind of gotta watch what you say, not only to, other people, but also to yourself.
Where do you think your fascination with like words came about? Because it seems like even just in talking to you, we shot a video and we were doing some movement practice stuff. It seems like you stopped a couple times and focused on some words, and then just seeing some of the stuff you have on Instagram and so forth. Did this start like a really young age? Did you, have some poetry exposed to you when you were young, and then you just like went all in?
So it started with Legos. You grow up and your parents or your mom doesn't buy you all the toys, but you learn that you can make Batman with yellow Legos and black Legos. Like the yellow Legos are the face, the black Legos are the suit. And you start to, you realize you can do these building block things. And very early, I remember just in my brain, it was like words, like I knew that letters made words. I went to my mom and I was like, T-I-T, is that a word? And she looked at me. Just to start, but
she's like, kinda.
Yeah. That's a word. You can't say it yet. Okay, great. This idea that words are put together and then people move based on them. It was a strange fascination, sitting at the computer. This is back when you had to, I'm going to age myself right now. Do you remember when you had to type in a command to start your computer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Damn, I don't even remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like now you get to just turn it on and it's on. No, before you turned it on and then there was a green blinker, then you had to type in the right codes to then turn it on. Yeah. So, you sit at the word processor and you're like, and I'm just typing away, and probably because I saw my mother doing it, but I wanted to find out where the words were. And you start to figure out that putting words together in a certain way gets certain reactions from people. I didn't know that this would eventually become a fascination with poetry. That became high school, me wanting to do raps for my English homework and wanted to pass because I thought that hip hop rap was poetry. And, just this, I guess I've tried to find a way that words are the way through life, or words are a way through life. And you kind of just accidentally discover that there's heightened ways to use your words, and you stumble into competitive poetry. You realize that there's something there, and then you start to write. You start to realize that the human voice has these different things that go along with it, and it's not just about the words, but like these layers under the words. And it's just you're just figuring it out, bro.
I saw a clip the other day where this doctor, he used the word irregardless. And in the comments, somebody said, irregardless is a made up word. And then the next comment was, all words are made up.
Yes. Yes. Did you see the Guardians of the Galaxy scene where I think he's talking to Thor? He's like, Star-Lord's talking to Thor, and he's like, that's a made up word. And I think Thor's like, all words are made up. Like, yes. Who said this is that and that is that? Like, who decided that was a car? I don't know. But we all heard the sound. We came to an agreement. That's car. So, people get weird. But what do you think words are, though, from that perspective? Of like, what is a word?
I don't know. I actually have been fascinated by it my whole life, too. I used to ask my brother all the time, how do people talk? Right. Like, how am I talking right now? Like, I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just spewing out words.
Right. Which is what gives me a job. is not necessarily you, but just people say things and they're like, why did I say that?
Okay. I want to know this.
Yeah.
I think sometimes when people, even myself, I've been lucky enough to be able to be a part of this podcast for a while. Mm-hmm. And the way I've communicated ideas has changed through the years because I've been able to listen to things back and be like, what the fuck did I just say? Why did I say it like that? Yeah. Why was my voice trembling? You help people with all of these things. Yeah. But one thing I think that many people may not even realize is how they come across.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where ideally, the ideal is that you can share your ideal self with the world and you want them to like it.
Right.
Right? you're like, I hope this comes. You want people to understand where you're coming from. But sometimes when people may hear the way one speaks, it can be like, wow, you're an asshole. Or you, like, and many people may come into this and be like, wow, this person is such an asshole. Right. And they're not even trying to be one, maybe.
Right.
There's a few people we've talked to on this podcast that after the show, maybe Mark and when we were talking like, damn, that guy, oof. When people see this show, they're not going to like the way this person comes forward. And I think a lot of people maybe don't even, they're wondering, how can I change that? Because I don't want to come forward like an asshole, but I don't know what I'm doing.
You know, man, look, there's like a duality with this. There's a duality because people like congruency. It's not even about the emotions or the likability, but it's about if the person's mad, they're mad. They're sad, they're sad. It's just straight shot. How many people do we know that are that way, though? Where it's like, and it's not about the expression of anger and sadness. Because I think people sometimes like connect the two. Like, if you say, you know, I'm angry right now, that doesn't mean, you know,
gotta scream,
turn over tables or do anything like that. Or, you know, I'm sad today. You know, it doesn't mean that you have to walk around with your head down. But the thing that we wonder about is how they've learned to interact with the world and what they've been rewarded for. And that can guide how they come across. Like, so if they go and they've been rewarded for that version of how they communicate, they're not going to be willing to change it. The only time people come to me is when the way that they communicate is not working anymore.
With what, you know, with what you're saying, this makes me curious because we have so many different interactions. And sometimes, again, some people are listening to somebody on a podcast. Maybe you're interacting with someone and you're just like, why are they talking like that? Why are they coming at me like that? What's going on here? Can you, what do you have to say about that idea or those ideas?
So it's this perception of being come at as the listener. Because there's also how I've learned to hear other people. So it's like, yeah, you say something to me. You ever, you know, somebody say something and you kind of know it's not you. It's something else going on with them. Jiu-jitsu in Brooklyn, right? Downstairs, there was this young lady, dainty. You know, she's sitting there on the side of the bench like this. Oh, you know, I'm here. She goes upstairs to teach her Taekwondo class, okay? We're on our floor rolling, and all we hear is, kick the bag, la, la, la. Dainty Daisy is upstairs screaming at everybody with the bloody roar of all bloody roars. And in my mind, I was like, that must be how she was taught. So in the context of teaching, that's how she was taught. And so someone might say to her, well, whoa, you're a lot. You're like, this is how I've learned that words come. This is how I've learned to come across. And we can't take it personal because they didn't start coming across today when they met us. They've been coming across like that before they got here. And so it just happens to be, well, today we're just crossing paths on the highway or like, you know, we're on the same road going and fuck you. Yeah, exactly. It's a little, you have some road rage. You might want to get that checked out. You know what I mean? And sometimes there's people who they've learned, like they'll talk like that. And there's also certain reactions that they've learned to receive from that. And it's surprising when they don't get those reactions. Let's say, you know, you come across, and there's usually a dance. There's like I say this way, the other person says this back at me, and then we're doing the thing. They say that way, and you're like, man, cool story, bro.
Hey guys, go watch our podcast with Jack Cruz. Just go watch our podcast with Jack Cruz, and I want you to listen to the man speak, and I want you to watch all of our eyes as we take some of what he says. Yo, yeah, man.
Listen, let them get it off. You know what I mean? You're like, they're here to share. They're sharing, right? And so there's this interesting space of taking offense because we have to take it. Like, you know, like taking offense, meaning like, yo, you threw this ball and like it hits you or it doesn't. Floyd Mayweather was in Clubhouse, okay?
Oh yeah, the old app. That's
yo,
okay.
Yo. And it didn't even start the way. It started off like this. It was a relationship room. And this woman was telling this crazy story, right? And it had all of the makings of a Hollywood drama, like top tier storytelling. And everyone in the room was like, whoa, wow, that's crazy. The guy goes, I have a friend, my boy Floyd. He's good at relationships. So, we're all listening like, okay, my boy Floyd. Man, Floyd Mayweather gets on the phone, okay? He's listening to the girl's story. And she's telling it the same way she told it the first time. He's like, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, okay, cool. And in my brain, I was like, yo, this dude is Philly shelling her story right now. He's bobbing and weaving because he's not allowing it to hit him. So he's like, yo, yeah, she's throwing the punches, she's saying the crazy stuff, but he's just not there. Oh, that's crazy. Oh, word. Oh, that's what. But then there's other people that, somebody say something to them, pow, and they let them hit them in the face. We use language like that. You stabbed me in the face. It was a punch in the gut. You stabbed me in the back, right? So we're acknowledging that. We're saying that those words made contact with our body, and then we respond in kind. For Floyd, he's like, yeah, you said some wild things, but I'm not going to let it hit me. And I think that it gave me this insight of how the embodiment of listening is really a whole body experience. We're not just listening with the ears. The ears are the main conduit, but the skin listens. They did a study where we perceive the difference between certain letters by the way the wind hits the skin. So the letters P and T, when the air moves through the space, if you change the pressure, people will perceive different letters because each of those letters has different air pressure. So when we're like talking, we're just really exchanging air pressure, right? Like, and then behind them, there's these like sounds that we have learned to make sense of. And sometimes like when people say, hey, are you good? And someone goes, think about all that pressure that they were holding in.
Oh, yeah.
And if you didn't ask them that question and you talk to them and they're kind of tight and like, oh, I'm good, I'm doing all this, but they really just want to let it out, right? So sometimes people have learned to exchange pressure a certain way. And, it takes some time, as we get older and as time goes on and we start to collect life experiences from other people, we just start to notice this, which is probably why we look at our mentors, the old timers in their 60s and 70s, and they're like, oh, okay, you fight like a younger man. Like, You know what I'm saying? You're like, yo, you don't got to do all that. And, so my job is to get people there a little faster in just the awareness. And, it's fascinating how people's relationships to their bodies. I had one client, he was a hockey player. Guy was super aggressive. Like that. So think about it. In hockey, you're board checking people. Yeah. That's how we communicate. Yeah, exactly. And you're imposing your will very physically. The way you do one thing is the way you do everything. So you talk like that. So he's got this guy, he's telling me, we're trying to buy his software. I'm telling him, like, look, we're offering you this kind of money. And I'm looking at him. I'm like, bro, well, first off, you're board checking the coder. Okay. Like he's telling you, I said, what is he telling you? He's like, he says he's losing sleep. I said, well, yeah, he's probably not going to sleep. You got him against the thing here. So I told him, I gave him some. I gave him
sidetracker, bro.
I gave him a different embodiment, right? Different offering to how his body behaved. 6 weeks later, his partner said to him, he said, I don't know what you said or how you said it, but it got us over the line. Because instead of him talking from the perspective of like, I need to check you into submission, right? I need to aggressively get this puck past the goalie, right? That's the energy. Let's try something else. And then now the embodiment, because what we're listening for and we're predicting. Like when somebody's talking, we're not thinking about what they're saying right now. We're thinking about what's about to happen next. Even when we look at faces, you see a face, and if let's say someone laughs at something very emotional, it violates the prediction of like, this was a sad moment. Why are you smiling? Right? And so what happens is that when people hear a certain tone, like, you hear when it's starting to escalate, like at a bar. It's not what's happening now. It's what's gonna happen next. Like, yo, what you the statistics start to narrow down from calmly walking out of the place to maybe having to have a fight. And so the body wants to protect against those predictions, and different people have different responses to those predictions, meaning that there's some people who they know how to fight. So they're okay with it getting to level 10 because they're like, if you want to go, we can go, right? Or they might also know or learn, like, we don't have to go there, right? And we can turn it down, right? We can because they've seen that as an option, and then they can behave and talk that way. Where now I'm no longer talking to the person with giving them the insight that, like, we could go there. No, bro, it's good, man. You're good. You got it. It's my bad. I stepped on your shoes. Because again, you don't know where they're coming from when they get to you. Like, you don't know what just happened yesterday before they got to you. And maybe they want to take that out on you. And you're like, I'm not here for that. You got it. You can go elsewhere. Right. So, yeah, man, I mean, it's a nice little puzzle, but I think it's also very simple. You're either going up or you're going down.
I first started hearing about transcriptions from Thomas DeLauer.
Yep.
And, Thomas is somebody, it's an animal with working out. You got a chance to work out with him. I worked out with him. And he's kind of always on the front lines of, like, finding out about these new companies that have cool things. But I didn't really realize that Transcriptions was the first company to put out Methylene Blue. And now look at Methylene Blue. It's so popular. It's everywhere.
It's one of those things. If you guys listen to this podcast, I'm very iffy with the supplements that I take. Because there's a lot of shady stuff out there.
You got to be careful.
The great thing about Transcriptions is that when people want to get Methylene Blue, usually they'll go on Amazon, they're going on these other sites. It's not third-party tested. It's not dosed. A lot of people end up with toxicity from the blue that they get because there's no testing of it. Transcriptions, they have third-party testing for their products. It's dosed, so you know easily what exact dose of Methylene Blue you're getting in each troche. So you're not making some type of mistake. There's not going to be anything in it. It's safe.
You can have it dissolve, and you can turn your whole world blue if you want, or you can just swallow it. They have two different types of Methylene Blue. They have one that is, I believe, dosed at 16 milligrams, and they have another one that's dosed at 50 milligrams. So make sure you check the milligrams. I don't recommend anybody start at 50 milligrams, but the 16 I feel is very safe. You can also score the troches, and you can break them up into smaller bits.
Yeah, that's what I do.
And in addition to that, on top of the Methylene Blue, they have a lot of other great products and stuff as well. They got stuff for sleep. They got stuff for calming down, all kinds of things.
I got to say, I use it about 2 or 3 times a week. I use it before jiu-jitsu. And the cool thing that I've noticed, and I've paid attention to this over the past few months, is that after sessions, I don't feel as tired. So it's almost like I've become more efficient with just the way I use my body in these hard sessions of grappling. And it's like, cool, that means that, I could go for longer if I wanted to, and my recovery is better affected. It's pretty great.
I know Dr. Scott Schur, we had him on the podcast, and he talked quite a bit about how he recommends Methylene Blue to a lot of the athletes that he works with.
Yeah.
And they're seeing some profound impacts. And one of the things I've heard about it is that it can enhance red light. So those of you doing red light therapy, or those of you that have some opportunities to get out into some good sunlight, it might be a good idea to try some Methylene Blue before you go out on your walk or run outside or whatever activity it is that you're going to do outside.
And this stuff is great, but please, like, first off, they have that stuff for staying calm. They have stuff for sleep. But remember, this stuff isn't a substitution for sleep. This isn't a substitution for taking care of your nutrition. This is supposed to be an add-on to all the things that we already should be doing. And it's going to make things so much better if you're doing everything else too.
And I think this is just a little different too than just adding some magnesium to your diet. I think this is a little different than...
Yeah.
Treat these things appropriately. Make sure you do some of your own research. But
if you're taking medications, SSRIs, you better talk to your doctor first. Don't be popping these things.
And if you're taking any medications at all, it'd be good to double, triple, quadruple check and make sure that you're safe. Transcriptions has a lot of great things that you need, so go and check out their website when you have the opportunity. Strength is never weakness. Weakness never strength. Catch you guys later.
And the behavior around that is based on, again, how you've learned to respond to your environment. And so this stuff is so deeply ingrained in the body that sometimes it takes a little while to turn the switch off and on. I like to give the impression that you can turn it off and turn it on pretty quickly, because I think cars would really suck if it took you 15 years to figure out how to go from gear 1 to 2. Like imagine like, okay, so getting here, man, it's just, one day I'll be able to hit that clutch and do that thing. I do believe that human behavior can be modified rather quickly, right? But if you know what to turn or what dial to change. Yeah.
What do you do for yourself? How do you interpret, how do you interpret stuff throughout your day? Like what's maybe some keys to, I guess, maybe trying to potentially keep yourself even keel? I don't know if when you were younger, your personality was way different, or, the things you learned, how have you implemented them, I guess?
Yeah. So I definitely was a much more excitable youth, for sure. When I used to compete, I'd be pop locking doing my poems. Like it was just like everything was just like, I'd always talk with my hands and people would say stuff to me about it. Then I found out I didn't find out on Ancestry, but my grandmother's full blood Italian. So I was like, well, maybe that's where this comes from. Bada bing, bada boom. I don't know.
Grandmother's full blood
Italian.
Whew, okay.
Yeah. So, bada bing. Great grandmother, sorry.
Okay, so
yeah, that's what. Yeah, because you're like, how did like, yo, my,
that
like, yo, yo,
Some genes are a little more powerful than others.
right? Hey, yo, nah. I was like, let's go back one more generation, But yeah, so you talk with your hands, but. I guess to answer the first question about how I go about my day, I mean, at this point it's like an autopilot because it's just that idea of recognizing that people come with their own stories, which was something that when I was much younger, it came to me in my mind like, yo, everyone, if you sit down and listen, everyone has a story. Like as a teenager, you just hear people and people be having there's people be having stories that start real early. Mm-hmm. You're like, yo, so since you were 3? And you're 15 and like this is your life. So you start, as we get older, what do we have? We have a much longer story now. So you walk into somebody in the 30s, 40s, and they have a certain attitude and a certain affect, man, that's a long story. And maybe no one's giving them the opportunity to share it. You might not be the one to hear it today. But sometimes just the recognition of that is enough. I want to connect to the keynote real quick because I think that we can open up some of this conversation. So right here, that little block right there, that's 4,000 words a minute. That's your inner voice, that one that's running while you're listening to me. 4,000 words a minute. That's 8 pages of books a minute. And this is all you can say. But let me just, for everyone looking right there, that 150 words at most. So you have an auctioneer going on in your head. At 8 pages a minute. And all you can say is half, not even like two paragraphs per minute can come out of your mouth. Just looking at that, depending on how old you are, that 8 pages a minute might be some crazy pages. And somebody's coming to me with that on their mind. You just take a beat. And the beat isn't to condone or to accept. There was a guy, he played a Disney villain. And he said, it was the guy that was the villain for The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And he said when he played the voice, he was so fascinated by the guy's story. He said his behavior was inexcusable, but understandable. And that stuck with me because it was just, sometimes it'd be really cool. What I love about like single sentences like that is it gives you this reframe really quick because you're like, some people are like they're so focused on the inexcusable part. This is inexcusable. Da, 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 da. There's something that happens when you say, but understandable. And then there's some people that over-index on the, oh, I understand. I understand. And they get pushed over because they don't have the boundary of what's inexcusable. But when you look at that whole sentence, inexcusable but understandable, now you have this opportunity to be like, I can acknowledge that this was a little, I don't like this, but I get where and how you can get to this place. And it's enough to depressurize your interactions.
I think a lot of times we don't understand. I think that's the problem, you know, like what you're referring to just kind of sounds to me like you just give people some grace.
Straight away.
Give them a little bit of a leash, you know, maybe they didn't mean to come at me that way or, you know, who the hell knows, you know, exactly what's going on, but you're just giving people some space as well. Right.
Yeah.
But I think that when you learn things, like you've learned all these things about words and you've learned how to make these changes, you integrated these changes into your life and it's propelled you forward and you feel awesome about where you're at. And then you communicate with a friend or relative who has this problem that they're unloading on you.
Yeah.
And because you do this with clients and you've been doing this for many years and you've done it with yourself, you're trying to problem solve for them in these ways. And you may not understand. You go back to your wife, you're like, man, I told Uncle so-and-so, and your wife's like, yeah, you told me the same story 17 times. Like he's not listening and we have a hard time. Like, I don't get it, man. He's totally capable. But he just doesn't have the same interests as you.
Right.
He's not those words aren't sticking and maybe somebody else has to say them so that's where some things can get a little frustrating.
Yeah.
When you're communicating with these people that are going on stage and these public speakers and stuff, I think part of what we're trying to do is sell ourselves. And part of what we're trying to do is, sell ideas, sell programs, sell whatever. Right? We're trying to sell ideas, sell concepts that we have. How might you go about, having somebody implement some of that into a public speaking engagement?
So I want to address the first thing you said about just talking to people that you're like, I've been around the block on something. I'm not trying to communicate with them and it's just not going. This past weekend, I was at an event, Firewalk. But one of the things that we do is we do something called a hard break and a soft break. So the hard break is, both breaks are the same. It's about putting one thing on the board that says, this is what I'm breaking through. And then the other side, this is what I'm breaking into. So for the hard break, I put hesitation, and the soft break, I put a permissionless life. And the permissionless life was introduced to me by a friend of mine, Patrick Moreau. He wrote a book about it. He runs a film company and teaches a lot of filmmakers how to be great in doing this.
What's the book called?
Permissionless.
Permissionless.
Yeah. And so, this idea of hesitation versus, just going for it was one thing that I was like, I want to add this to my life. So I made that my hard break. The soft break is a different energy. The soft break, unlike the hard break where it's very like, pow, like you do it. The soft break is just falling, allowing, yielding. And the board doesn't even sound the same. When you do the hard break, the board snaps. When you do the soft break and you do it, if you do the soft break softly, the boards they'll sound like they're singing as they hit the ground because it's not the same sound pressure, it's not the same energy. On that board, that was the thing that I put down about wanting to help or wanting to do something without being asked, I think I have this solution. And then the other side I put allowing, yielding. And so, currently this is something that I'm currently exploring with myself. Because what happens is the burden of knowledge is that you have the knowledge. And then the burden of that is like, well, that maybe other people don't. And so what you're looking at, instead of seeing a person, I'm seeing a lack of knowledge, which can be a very interesting way of looking at people. And it creates its own level of subconscious judgment because that's what I'm measuring against. I'm measuring against what I know and what they clearly do not.
The way that I've looked at that over the years is you only know what you're taught.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make someone dumb that they don't know something.
Yeah.
But I do understand exactly what you're saying. You can kind of feel like yeah, this person is lacking this knowledge, and that's why they're not doing it. But a lot of times we do know. We do kind of.
That's the funny part, isn't it?
Right.
And it's I'm not even in the knowledge business. I'm in the remembering business. I'm like, just recall till you remember. Like, you know, like every human being that got here, like, yo, we won a pretty intense Formula One foot race just to be alive, just to have made it into a womb and then be born. Like, yo, okay? And from that thought, man, to think that, you know, we were just these microorganisms, man, and then all this stuff happened, and then we got here. We don't think about it much, but it's very fascinating. But we forget that we won something. We still got to come here and we still got to do our part to try to do our thing and win here in life. But recalling until you remember that you know, we come from this stuff, and we all do. And so, you know, this sense of being separated, categorized, which, you know, man.
No, you good.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, just making sure. The sense of being separated and categorized, I mean, yeah, you know, you look at DNA and look at all the options that you have. You can make a crocodile, or, you know, you can make a crying child. You know, but it's the same like stuff. And so our sensory systems are so profound. We hear our own BS when we say it. I know if when I say, yeah, I'll be there, or I know I'm not going to do it. And you know what? The other person knows too.
Yeah, for me, it's the
Call
maybe.
me out, bro.
For me, it's the maybe. If I say maybe, then I'm not doing it. Yeah, that's how you know.
I'll let you know, bro.
Yeah, I'll let you know the cliffhanger, John. Like,
You don't want to just say no right now.
yeah, right.
I had a friend that reached out, a mutual friend, Jason Kliepa. He reached out recently, and he asked me if I wanted to come on his show, and he referenced the time. But the time is now, like today, at this very time. And I just wrote back no. And I just wanted to see, like, just because I think it's funny to sometimes text people with no context.
Right.
Because he's looking at it, he's probably like, what the hell is going on? And he's like, okay, I hope you're doing okay.
Yo.
And so, I texted him later. I was like, hey, man, I was just kind of messing around. I wanted to see if I let that hang there and just say no.
Yes.
To see if you would kind of freak out. And I was right.
Did I do something to Mark?
Yo, I'm about to mass text the word no to like just open a text thread. No, man. You like to play with people like that, huh? Yeah, okay.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. But yeah, man, text messaging is a whole other thing because it opens up how other people have learned to hear. Have you seen, there's a Key and Peele skit where they're texting each other and one guy, he's like, oh yeah, da, 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 da. And the other dude's reading like, I can do what? And then he texts him back, da, 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 da. And the other guy reads like, oh yeah, da, da, da. And you're looking at the text thread, and it opens up this idea that we all just have a voice in our head that is doing the filtering / interpreting. And that filter / interpreter is doing the work, and depending on how you've learned to filter in how words come across, again, it's the same thing. And that's how you know everybody's in their own little bubble. Like, yeah, I'm talking, we're talking, but it hits your ear. There's like the translator in there, and it was like, yeah, what did you say about my mother? Like, bro, I said, your mom is wonderful. What does wonderful mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, yo,
What do you think? She's hot? Are you being weird?
like downhill from there.
Yo.
So, yeah, like, look, man, just to whatever end, like you were saying earlier about people selling themselves. It's impossible to sell yourself if you negotiate against yourself. So speaking with public speakers, you get on stage. Like right now, the idea of like saying, oh, do they see the stain on my shirt? Right? That's a thought. And you get on stage and you gotta talk to people. And you've already inserted a self-consciousness into the thought stack. I'm of the interpretation now that, you have your 8 pages a minute going on in your head, and that's stacked on top of what you're doing right now. So I'm saying 150 words per minute with an 8-page Audible book on repeat under that. And so let's just say you decide to read the insecurity section of your book.
Ooh, that's a long.
Right. You know what I'm saying? So like the part of the book that I'm thinking about is the 8 pages of why, the stain on my shirt will make people think I'm whatever. And then you have your 150 words a minute that you're saying as a motivational speaker on top of that. And it's like music. And so what your thought stack is either harmonizing with what you're saying or it's not. And so if you're like, look, I'm a motivational speaker and I am dealing with something right now, but I'm overcoming my own challenges, that will come out in how you talk and people will hear that. But let's just say I'm a motivational speaker and I'm getting challenged right now, but I'm having a hard time dealing with my challenges. Let's look at I'm just saying these words, but I'm changing the order, and now it changes. How am I motivating you? Because my thought stack is already working against me. And so you're going to hear either where there's congruency in what's being said or not. And people are really good at picking that up.
Ooh, okay. I want to ask you this. By the way, I don't even know if this has been mentioned, but a lot of these tactics are in your book, Tonal Influence. You have a lot of amazing tactics on the way to manipulate the body in terms of how you come across when speaking to people. You have a lot of things for the mind, all things for the breath. So I'd suggest people get that book. I'm actually going to reread it because it's not extremely long, but it's so tactical. It's so tactical. Every page or so, there's something, right? It's so useful. So that's why I really appreciate that book. But I was going to ask you some stuff about the body, but I want to actually now ask you about that.
Okay.
Because, for years we've talked on this podcast about like, first, the things that you say about yourself and the beliefs you have about yourself will come through in the actions that you take and the things you choose to do.
Yes.
But that thing that's just running in your mind, I think that can be crippling.
Yes.
Because if you've been having these specific thoughts about yourself for decades, and we all have our insecurities and the things that we have issues with, but for some of us, that is always at the forefront of our mind as we're communicating with people. And as you mentioned, that comes across. You can tell with the way people can be like, ooh, we all have insecurities, but this guy's maybe wearing a little bit more on his sleeve than he'd want to.
Yeah.
What are some ways to maybe think about things, things to not necessarily let go of those insecurities because they will be there, but have them not come through in our communication with others?
So there's this concept called stop rules. And we can go to the overall conversation, like what is the stop rule for when it's over? And so a stop rule is like when we say bye, it's over. Let's move this to complaining or ruminating. Do we have 2 different kinds of stop rules we can put on? We can go, the stop rule is give me as many problems as you can think of. Right? What's another stop rule? Keep talking about it until it stops feeling good. Very different stop rule. So if my stop rule is give me as many problems you can think about, and that's the limit, because you're just like, man, and then you know what else? And then it's like when you're doom scrolling. The stop rule for doom scrolling is like, well, one, they don't have a stop rule for you. It doesn't end, right? The stop rule has to be when you recognize it doesn't end and you get off Instagram, right? There has to be, sometimes people don't even know that there's sort of like traffic signals for their own thinking. If you tell yourself that I have a new stop rule, like I'm willing to listen to somebody complain about something, but the stop rule is, does this still feel good to you? And the answer will be usually no. Then that leaves open conversation for alternative solutions possibilities. But if you just let somebody go on and on and on until they run out of ideas to do whatever, that's one thing. But now that's with coaching of the other person. But when it comes to ourselves, it's the same thing. Like, how long do I want to ruminate? If you give yourself a timer. There's people I know that literally set aside on their calendar 30 minutes a day to worry. Like, okay, I'll sit down and worry for 30 minutes. And just worry. Just
Go right through all of
go
them.
right through all the problems. Just flip the pancake, man. And then after that 30 minutes, they go back to it. But how do you know? You don't even know that you can do that until somebody introduces the idea to you. Like,
Because usually worry hits you kind of not necessarily out of nowhere, but it's usually sometimes this chronic thing.
yes.
Well, and you're in an irrational state
For sure.
A lot of times because you're if you say it like you said earlier, you hear yourself and you hear your own bullshit, and so you'll say it, and then if somebody repeats it back to you and you say, you can end the sentence by saying, "Do you think that's true?" Person probably say, "Well, not really."
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, what the fuck?
Right. Right. I mean, and you're giving people these avenues because again, we're all on our way somewhere. When there's a culture that when they say hello, because the language is structured, they understand where they are in cardinal space. So they understand where, like they'll say past that from the northwest part of your leg, like that's how they talk. So when they say hello, their hello translates to where are you going? So it's in the assumption of the language that you're on your way somewhere, which is very different the way we say, hey, how are you doing? Stop, tell me, right? And what you think about with that is people are running their own little narrative. And when they interact with you, you can either, walk and join them on their thing that they're on, or you can present this hard brick wall that's like, okay, well, the buck stops here, or you can guide them to some other turn. Like, oh, you can make a left turn here. You do know you can turn left. It happens in jiu-jitsu all the time. Like when you like work on like a little sector of a technique and somebody goes, oh, you could just do that. And you're like, because whatever path you've learned to do is so grooved in that you never thought that, oh, you could actually just go around that way. And it's like you just enter Shangri-La, like, oh my God, I could have just, But that is an example of how we are. Like we're rolling. We're always rolling. We're rolling the tape on our own little story. And then somebody comes in with some splicing and some editing, right? Like you have the director's cut, and then like somebody comes in and does another cut. And usually what I think is interesting perhaps is we have the director's cut, which is the way I want to tell my story. And then the movie studio goes, yeah, but we want to sell the movie. So we're going to have to edit some of these things out, okay? That's why you get coaches. That's why you have people that work with you on anything, because sometimes you might be so gripped on like the director's cut version of whatever it is that you're doing. And it's like, yeah, that might work for you, but you may not get to the thing that you want, which is this massive reach to other people, or, just this appeal, or, again, to selling yourself. Because it's like, oh yeah, well, I can give you the director's cut version of my life and give it to you raw. And then like, yo, but yeah, I don't know how many friends I'll have with that version. Okay. And, so people are like, oh, well, like Mark Bowden talks about being authentic. And he's like, look, he did a whole talk. He did a TED talk, and he's like, yeah, well, if I go on stage and I'm telling you like I'm the body language expert, and like you don't know what you're talking about, and like, yeah, that's authentic, right? But like you're not gonna like me very much. And so you have the people, the world outside gives us this opportunity to edit. Now, how much you edit is up to you. And that becomes, sometimes there might be things that you need to push for. Like, yeah, no, don't cut this part out. Keep this. Because the world's going to try to slice you up anyway into whatever little pieces that are contained for them, right? Like the version of you that they want. Have you ever tried to change? Like, you ever tried to change like a behavior and then people around you start freaking out? Mm-hmm. Like, it may be something little. I had this one guy tell me, he said, you can stop eating sugar. And like your romantic partner will freak out. Whoa, what's going on? Why is he not eating sugar anymore? Okay, it must be me. Like, no, I just don't want to eat sugar anymore. But because we have the version of people that we know that we want to keep, when they start to change, it changes the movie, man. Like I know this movie. It happens when people have recovery from addictions. There's a whole group of people that are like, the movie of them being addicted to the thing is the movie that people hold on to. They want to remember that. And then how dare you recover? How dare you change the movie? Like, you know what I'm saying? So, there's a little bit of the push and pull of both an external source having access to your narrative so that you can install new versions of it. And then also, you having access and awareness of your own narrative and its effect on you. Because sometimes people ignore, they'll self-medicate to run from, there's a story there. And they're like, I don't want to know the story. I don't want to think about the story. I don't want to remember the story. But then there's consequences to that. And so, you guide people through these things. With poet just means creator, right? So like as a poet, I'm just a creator, just like anybody else. And I would argue that poetry is probably the smallest molecule of creativity, because everything that becomes beautiful, we say it's poetic. Like, oh, look at that movie, it was poetic. Look at that painting, it was poetic. Look at that. So like poet baseline, create.
Poetry in motion.
Poetry in motion, and which is what we all are, right? And you don't have time to read everybody's book though, and we can't act like we do. And that's the thing. I say, hey, how you doing? I'm asking them to open up pages of the book. If I don't have time to read their book, let's not pretend. I'll just take the highlight reel version right quick. And maybe when I have more time, we can read the book. And those are the relationships that you have. Those are people that are closest to you. You're different, like concentric circles of connection. Like there's the people that recently listen to this podcast from all over the world that you'll never meet. Then there's the people that, they subscribe to your emails. They maybe respond to your stuff, your comments. And there's the people that like the diehard people that might have come down to the studio. And then obviously the guests that come, and they get a little bit closer to that center. And they get a little bit closer to that story and a little bit closer to the deeper parts of that. And we all have different versions for that. Like there's the YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn version, right? And then there's the raw, uncut, unyielded, unedited version that my wife sees, right? So there's a lot of opportunity and also a lot of challenge, because we are historically connecting with and meeting with so many people at a clip that we never have. Like, oh, look at you, Insta story, every story, Insta story, LinkedIn story, there's story, and there's your story. And oh my God. So we got to give ourselves some space.
You mentioned edit. Are there words and stuff that you have edited or deleted sort of from your vocabulary? And is that anything that you teach, or have you gone down the path of reinterpretation so much that you don't really care if you have some of this language in your head or in the way you speak here and there?
Yeah, man, there's a little bit of this thing called cognitive reappraisal. It's like where you look at one thing and you look at it again. So don't you love those long words? Cognitive reappraisal. Like, what the hell is that? Like, yeah, you thought it and you rethought it. And you were like, let me think it again and see if there's something different here. My granddad, he used to, he had me listen to music, and he would have me pull out all the different instruments, be like, yo, what's this instrument? What's that instrument? And so I can listen to a song like 100 times now because I'm listening for the layers. And so a little bit of that is like, there's certain things I'm okay with, but then there's other things that are like, oh, like I was talking to a gentleman about just like how people say, oh, don't say the word but, because it negates. So that's not the problem is not the word. It's like an order. If I say I'm stressed in my life, but I see a way out of it, that's very different. But I'd like a way out of this, but I'm stressed in my life. It's totally different sentence. One of those things is going downhill and one of those things is going uphill, or at least it's giving the impression of it. And so like like we talk about function. So in any language, in every language, they have the, what's it called? The content words and then these function words. So the function words are I, they, if, and these are the little tiny words that make up 60 to 70% of what we say that are small and very unconscious. Like when corporate America got a hold of yes and, like, oh, you want to do an idea? Well, I want to challenge you. Yes. And, and it was so revolutionary for corporate communication. Think about this. Multi-billion-dollar companies got strung up on yes and because of the opportunities that it affords to say.
Basically just said no. Or your idea is dumb because you said yes and.
Well,
But after the and comes your better idea.
well, yes, which is and so right. But you look at this as this. It's and is a word of invitation for more. That's its function.
Right.
So we look at like the content words like love or beautiful. There's so many ways to interpret that. Right? Oh, what's beautiful to me is not beautiful to you. What's love to me is not love to you. But we all kind of agree that if I say and, I'm going to add more. Right? But we use those little words without thinking about it. So like those are the words that I kind of work out. Like, you know, if someone but it's when you call somebody out on their stuff, right? Those are the words you pull out. Like if somebody goes, yeah, well, if we can do that, if, right? Like you don't think about it until you catch it because you recognize like, well, what does the word if mean? It gives me the assumption that you're casting doubt. That word, if you're saying if, you're saying that you doubt that this could happen, right? So we call those out, but we don't call them out until like we get to some sort of deep emotional thing. And somebody's like, oh, and, what do you mean and? But, what do you mean but? Right? So you're starting to look at these little words, man. It's like the little things. And, you know, not everybody has time for this. You know what I mean? Like I also recognize the goal, at least the point of doing the work that I do is to realize that like, who's waking up?
Yeah, it's like correcting everyone's grammar on a text thread or something. Right?
Which
It's
is-
like, come on. You know what I meant.
Yo, yes. And people are, oh man. However, sometimes the question is, no, I don't know what you meant.
Correct.
Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes people, you know, they'll try to pass it by like, oh yeah, man, you know me. No. No, you owe me $200. Like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, nah, you know what I meant. Like when I borrowed it, like, no, no, I want it back. So like, but yeah, so you know, you want to like, the goal here, and I think this is just so cool because it's like this cultural thing. Because you know, there's some cultures that reward being polite. Like I'm not gonna go, but I'll say I'm going, and then just not show up. And like that's the like there's cultures in the world that are like that.
Yep.
And like so like and that's just it. And then like
What a great plan.
because they value saving face.
There's cultures that appreciate being late sometimes.
Oh man,
There's-
like what?
There's
Oh man,
Brazilian time, Nigerian time,
Brazilian time, Nigerian time. Look, man, let me tell you something.
it's African time in general.
Yo, this African time. Like y'all parties be starting at 7.
650s when
6:50 is like you know what I
People
mean?
start showing up a little early.
Like 7 means 9. Like you know what I mean? Like you know what I meant? Yeah, you meant 2 hours later. Like yeah, no. But again, it's all about like again, you know, it's just how we've learned to respond to stimuli. And how we move together. So the global stuff is cool too. You know, you start to look at like you talk to like you do a sale in like India and you see like head movement and you're like, is that a yes or a no? You know what I mean? And they laugh at the dramatic languages because they're like, we say yes and no and I don't know pretty directly, and their head just moves like this and they're like, yeah, you don't know, and they're like, yeah, we find that hilarious. So you know, again, I mean, you start to look at, you know, how culture shapes the body, how culture shapes the language, how culture shapes our responses to things. Like in New York, you can be like, yo, what's up? Or yo, what's up? And each one of those has a very different consequence of like, yo, what's up? Like, nah, you good? You know, or, hey, yo, what's up? So, you know, again, you know, your tone and all this other good stuff, man. Like, you have, what I love about our technology is that it's given us this opportunity to recognize that there is the long form and the short form. If you give me your 30-second version of you, I can respond to that. Very clearly, I can respond to that. We do it all the time, you know? But then there's sometimes I might have an hour where I can sit and listen and chill out. But how many hours do I have? So, you know, you want to be a bit more, I find that that's one of the first places that's the second place that we lie is how much time we have. You ever tell somebody I got 5 minutes? Or rather, you ever get on the phone and you know you have 5 minutes and you don't tell them you have 5 minutes? and then you get pissed at them for violating the 5 minutes you didn't tell them that you had, right? Like, so who's at fault, right? Like who? So we're trying to get to like this very interesting balancing act between honesty and dishonesty, really. Like, when is it okay? Like Mark Bowden even talked about like, oh, it's okay to lie at some points, and he's like, oh, you're getting really ethical here. But yeah, but one thing that tells the truth most of the time is your tone.
I will never go to a doctor ever again about my general health. All they want to do is put you on pills.
Really well said there by Dana White. Couldn't agree with him more. A lot of us are just trying to get jacked and tan. A lot of us just want to look good, feel good. And a lot of the symptoms that we might acquire as we get older, some of the things that we might have, high cholesterol or these various things, it's amazing to have somebody looking at your blood work as you're going through the process, as you're trying to become a better athlete, somebody that knows what they're doing. They can look at your cholesterol. They can look at the various markers that you have, and they can kind of see where you're at, and they can help guide you through that.
And there's a few aspects too, where it's like, yes, I mean, no shade to doctors, but a lot of times they do want to just stick you on medication. A lot of times there is supplementation that can help with this. At Merrick Health, these patient care coordinators are going to also look at the way you're living your lifestyle, because there's a lot of things you might be doing that if you just adjust that, boom, you could be at the right levels, including working with your testosterone.
And there's so many people that I know that are looking for, they're like, hey, should I do that? They're very curious. And they think that testosterone is going to all of a sudden kind of turn them into the Hulk. But that's not really what happens. It can be something that can be really great for your health, because you can just basically live your life a little stronger, just like you were maybe in your 20s and 30s.
And this is the last thing to keep in mind, guys. When you get your blood work done at a hospital, they're just looking at like these minimum levels. At Merrick Health, they try to bring you up to ideal levels for everything you're working with. Whereas if you go into a hospital and you have 300 nanograms per deciliter of test, you're good, bro, even though you're probably feeling like shit. At Merrick Health, they're going to try to figure out what things you can do in terms of your lifestyle. And if you're a candidate, potentially TRT. So these are things to pay attention to get you to your best self.
And what I love about it is a little bit of the back and forth that you get with the patient care coordinator. They're dissecting your blood work. It's not like you just get this email back and it's just like, hey, try these 5 things. Somebody's actually on the phone with you, going over every step and what you should do. Sometimes it's supplementation, sometimes it's TRT, and sometimes it's simply just some lifestyle habit changes.
All right, guys, if you want to get your blood work checked and also get professional help from people who are going to be able to get you towards your best levels, head to merrickhealth.com and use code POWERPROJECT for 10% off any panel of your choice.
Your tone is going to give the message, and it's about whether or not if you hear a signal come across and you basically heard, all right, they're going through it, but is now the time? No, but you catalog it, and then you talk to them later. And what happens with tone, I find, is that you become like a psychic. These people start to wonder, like, how did you know? And it's like, yeah, I heard that, but you give it some space. And so these are things that are a consistent dance for myself as I explore and navigate the world, and then I just help other people with what I've learned along the way. So
So I know one of the last things I want to ask you is you talk about a lot of things within the book in terms of tonality and how to adjust these things, how to change these things over time for yourself, because again, you work with people at length with these things. You help with the global aspect of the way they communicate. Yeah. But the hands.
Oh yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. How, first, is there anything because you can tell sometimes with the way someone's doing and the way they're communicating with what their hands are doing. Oh yeah. When you say certain things to them or when they're communicating with you. But how can we bring a level of awareness and attention to what we're doing with our hands and how that can affect the way we communicate with people and or the way we receive information from people?
Let's just say, like, if you use your hands as like a virtual reality holographic platform. So my hands are like this. I'm showing somebody something. I have something here, maybe. I also could be leaving his hand open to receive something, maybe. Hands this way. I'm dropping something, right? Like something's falling from my hands, and like, you know, if you look at like authority, like, yeah, we're gonna stop that right now. Versus, yeah, you can stop that right now. This looks like a little more optional, right? Yeah, you could stop, right? This is like
Don't raise
this,
the angle of that hand, brother.
right, exactly. Now, this one is one underrepresented angle. There's a lot of talk about this, but this one is actually pretty interesting because this is more like horizontal hierarchy, top down. This is lateral. This is my space, your space. And so let's just say you're saying, this is my position about something. And you see, like, I'm like, oh, this is my space I'm owning. And usually the closer my hand is to my body, the more closely I'm holding this position. It's so much so that, like, this is my position versus, you know, this is my position, which is a little bit more open. It's still this, I'm cutting this plane off. Like this, I'm separating this is me and this is you. And when you look at the hands, you know, there's this mechanical use of the hands, but also this abstract use of the hands, which is an interesting thing about the hands in general, is that they can both say what I'm gonna physically do, but they also can represent how I use my mind. And so using the hands, I have three things I like to focus on. I have what I call the roll, the move, and the chop. So let's just say you see me doing this. What do you know is about to happen as I'm doing this?
You're gonna keep going.
Yeah, I'm going. Have you ever seen someone get this thing going and you're like, holy crap? You're like, yeah, so I was doing the thing. You're like, oh no, they're gonna talk for an hour, right? And then you have the move, you know, where it's like, here, I'm saying this thing, bring it back, right? Or you have the hand, or you move the hand toward you, right? It's sort of like a pervert, like I'm taking something from this space. And then you have the chop. And again, the chop is very much like I'm separating this space. You see in the military, they had the knife hand, and they kind of moved it away from them. Like they were like, oh, this makes people feel bad. But it gives direction. It's very clear. I was speaking in Atlanta for a company, and I walked to throw my food away. The lady goes, that belongs right there. And I looked and I said, okay, what branch of the military, ma'am? And she like ran down her credentials, but it's like the knife hand just right. So, but these shapes, there are people that don't feel comfortable in one shape or another, right? Like so, like establishing a boundary. Like if it's like, oh, okay, stop or stop, those three different shapes.
Yeah.
And those three different shapes indicate something. And sometimes people have never learned that they could do this. They never learned. Or things in life told them they couldn't. And then so they gave up. They give up that shape. So the hands become, just like American Sign Language or any world sign language, there's a bunch of like meaning that can come from the different shapes the hand can make. So I'm just giving like a very simple, like, oh, you know, if I want to say something like this, you know, or if I want to say something like this, or if I want to say something like this, you can just change that geometry. And but also this also becomes very like, the potential could be like, people are like, well, I'm saying it like this, duh, or I'm saying it like that. And then even this, where you going, bro? Like this, because what your hands are saying is you're waiting to catch something that they're about to throw, right? And so you're like, oh, what do I do with my hands? Well, if you look at your hands as, again, like this virtual tool, like the pointer, or if you look at your hands as this sort of indicator of what, again, is what's next. If I talk like this, I'm pretty clear that what's next is it's finished. If I do this, I'm pretty clear that what's next is going to be more of whatever I would say. If I'm like, you know, this or this one, when do you notice this hand come up? When people say something like, bro,
That's it.
Yeah. Or like, this is obvious. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like you're flashing the obvious thing. Like, bro, come on. Like everyone knows that that we all agree that it's this. Okay. So you're looking at your hands, and there's this like language of what's going on with those too. And sometimes when people are like, you know, I'm uncertain of what to do, what to say, they start doing a dance with these things. And the hands are in fact with poker, they found that the best tells are not in the face, It's the hands. These are the actual hands. The hand in your hands, that's the tell. You can see it. I was watching poker last night. This lady, when she won her round, she put her hand on her chin. She had this little movement, and I saw the numbers, and I was like, yeah. Next round, when she knew she was about to lose some money, hand on the chin, but it had a different texture. Right? So you're looking, and I'm looking like, yeah, she knows she about to lose all that money. But the hands are also, they're communicating, they're speaking, they're saying things. And so the invitation, one, you start to just look at people, like even this gesture. This is a gesture of like sifting. Like, yeah, you start to look at people, like you sticking them out. And you start to discern like, oh, okay. Like I hear what you said, but your hand's doing a little willy-nilly there. Like, and so like, and it gives you the opportunity to start asking more questions. Because sometimes there's like, we talked about more of the personal stuff of like when to be invasive or non-invasive. But when it's a little bit more mission critical to be invasive, people start doing little things, you need to start saying things. You're like, if you see little behavior, little ticks of movement, it's better to investigate versus have a sensation, have a feeling come or a knowing come to, like, because how many business deals go awry when someone said they were going to do something, someone noticed in the response that they were not going to do that, then they were like, I knew it. Well, you didn't say anything, so whose fault is it, right? I want to reduce the gap to getting to the thing. It's like, yo, look, man, I'm looking at the whole body communicate. I'm able to discern that there might be some things here, or maybe, there's something that someone needs to do and they have a behavior that's a little dismayed. Okay, is there something in the way? Not what's wrong with you, but you say, there's something in the way. When you, like to your point earlier, when you're like, yo, you look tired. What that says is that's showing me that I'm observing the effect of something on the person. But if I'm saying, man, it's been a long day, I'm looking at the environment. So if you can externalize the challenge, say, oh, is there something in the way between you and this? Then people feel a little less personally attacked because it's not about them. It's about the obstacle. And then you can talk about the perception of the obstacle, or maybe you just find out it's not a good fit. But these are like the little things, little fun things you can get after.
How do you keep, how do you get attention, and how do you keep people's attention?
Wow. So
like just maybe as a speaker, but just as a person, like just communicating, just, you're just telling a story at a party or, whatever it might be.
So there's something called the performance of thinking. And when it's very clear that the person is thinking, the body freezes. And some people, even when they're nervous, like jittery, that nervousness comes from the discomfort with the moment that's required to actually thoughtfully think about what's about to happen next. So if you're telling a story, now there's people who are, you look going like, hey guys, that's the stop the scroll, which is a great tool because you're doing this. So you need a buzzer to kind of stop you. But if you're going to keep them there has to be a level of comfort with you being there, being the focal point. Because sometimes when people, like there's people who want attention, they're very spastic about it. But really, that's coming from a discomfort of being the focal point, because most likely whatever it is that's bothering them, they don't like. So it's almost like they're upset at themselves that they even feel that way. It's like, why can't I just, they want attention. Like, why can't I just fix it? But they also feel bad about themselves. And that comes across as a bit more dramatic. But if I'm okay with space, I'm okay with eyes on me, and I'm okay with giving myself time to think and rummage through my thoughts, that's a different kind of attention, and people can keep it. And you look, you're also looking at the scale of how many people you're talking to at a time. Like, this is not the 1,000 people keynote conversation style to hold attention. But I also find that people can hold attention and do a 1,000 person keynote at this level. This level of holding attention translates to what people, I believe, is like, oh, I want to be natural. Because there's something unnatural about, and now da 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 da. But I wouldn't say it's unnatural, it's just hypernatural. It's this extended thing, and so it your thought stack. Going back to that, if I don't think that people should pay attention to me, like I'll demonstrate. So let's just say I'll just put in my thoughts like, yeah, you guys shouldn't really listen to what I'm talking about. So like, yeah, my name is Marshall Jones. I do communications training. Look at my body. Immediately, as soon as I put in my thought stack, you guys shouldn't pay attention to me, my embodiment becomes like ignorable. But if I go and I'm like, I have a decent amount of authority on the topic I'm talking about, that's in my thought stack. And so as I talk about that topic, it's congruent. And you're like, well, he's talking and he's a little bit more certain about what he's saying. He also seems to explore his uncertainty with a level of comfort, right? It's not about being certain all the time. It's also being able to explore like, well, maybe I don't know, but I'm not uncomfortable with not knowing. How many times people get uncomfortable when they don't know? And then you see that and they feel like you caught them. Like, bro, we're having a conversation. Like, this is not, no one's signing a bill after we're done. Like, we're just talking about talking, but you have a discomfort with being wrong. And so if you can find a duality with both the certainty of what you're right about or what you believe you're right about, but also the comfort of being wrong and or a lack of discomfort with being wrong, you can hold the attention because it holds water on both sides. Because there's the things you might be right about, but then the things you might not be right about. And then you yin yang. But if you over index on one of those, like I talk to you, like everything I say is right. Like you see how it changes how you feel immediately. Like, yo, yeah, I'm here. Everybody, I'm the tone guy. Okay. People come to me to talk about it. Like, you're like, whoa, this guy. Or if I'm like, yeah, well, man, I'm mostly wrong. So, I don't even know why these guys are even trying to talk to me. Gone.
What about some of these strategies we see on social media where people are discrediting a lot of other people?
Oh, geez.
I mean, that does hold people's attention, but is that the right way? Is that a good way to? I mean, I don't personally don't feel comfortable doing that. Right. I never liked that style, but it can work.
Well, it does. I mean, muckraking. Muckraking.
What is muckraking?
Like it's like the historical political campaigning when they would like say it's the stuff that they do when they're like, this candidate said that they were gonna do this. Yeah. Like this thing has been going for a while. It's like, if it's not about my baby being pretty, it's about my baby being prettier than their ugly baby. And so like then that's the tactic. It's like, yeah, like my baby's kind of ugly too, but theirs is uglier. Look at it. And that draws attention, and that draws it appeals to the part of our nature that is disgusted by things, because we have like the things we like I'm appetized by, like you look at the two extremes, like think about something that you really like to eat, you're like yeah, but then think about that thing, if somebody put that on your plate right now, you'd be like, ugh. At those extremes we think. But we think about those things as like we're talking about regular stuff, but let's look at it biologically. What's the value in that? What's the value in having a system that both accepts the stuff that's good and rejects the crap that's bad? Well, rejecting the crap that's bad will keep me from dying. If that's poisonous, shouldn't drink it. Shouldn't eat it. Ew. Okay? If that's good for me, yeah, let's go. So there's some people that will go with giving you the perception that this over here is the poison, which hits our biological system. Like it plays with the fact that we have an eye out for, I shouldn't, tell me why I shouldn't eat over there at that restaurant. Tell me why I shouldn't go and listen to that person. Tell me why this person's perspective on this is actually not the perspective to have, because I don't want to be the person that eats the poison berry. And because nature itself doesn't really have like this compass of like, it's just like in the Amazon jungle, like, if you lay down on the floor, I'm not really sure like if you were a good person, that would change the fact that you're probably gonna get swallowed by an anaconda in like an hour, right? And so when we look at the way our biology works, it's like it's any man's game, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately or fortunately. Now, again, if you cultivate a garden where this is the nutrients and what you build here, that's what you do. and let no one stop you. Know that if you cultivate a good garden, there are going to be people that don't like that. And so they're going to want to draw attention away from your garden.
Or just burn your garden.
Or just burn it, to the ground. And I don't know, I don't think there's any answer, because if you open up the longer book about human history, this is something that has been done forever. So and then Marshall came along, wrote Tonal Influence, and changed everything. It's not it. All I know is that my perspective of what a garden is and what a garden isn't has changed, and what it is when I'm dealing with individuals or organizations, that's shifted for me so that I can better cultivate my life and in the life of the people that I care about. And extending beyond that, the risk of extending your reach is you also extend the reach of who can reach you. So once you broadcast, other people can broadcast back. And that's the risk we run. And if we're okay with the consequences of that risk, where it's like, I don't have to like it. It's not like you're like, yeah, it's okay. You guys can talk trash about my podcast all you want, blah, blah, blah. And I'll just like take it laying down. But you're like, look, this is what happens when you put stuff on the internet. You put a video on YouTube, that comment section is open unless you turn it off. And boy, can people be cruel when they know there's no consequences. And people just sit there and just, yeah, that's what I'm telling them. You're like, that can be frustrating. But again, and because emotional language affects the nervous system, we also have to try to avoid this immunity to it. Like that's people that they say, I don't read the comment section. Like let's be okay with being human. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and try to test my gangster about how many negative comments I can read before I want to like throw my phone out the window. You know what I mean? Like, why? Why do it to yourself? Why add that? Why poison the well with somebody else's trash? And I also will argue this. We played the dozens. When we grew up, you crack jokes on your homies, like that's what you did. Okay, this is where I love science. They did a study that confirmed that actually might be a good part of development for sports athletes. They were saying that they should prescribe trash talking.
That the science says it.
Once the science says it, you got to do it. But what I love about it is that you think about the value of being trash talked as you get older. You're like, there's nothing you can say to me that my brothers haven't said to me. There's nothing you have said to me that my dad, my mother, whoever. So out in the street, you do develop a little bit of immunity to the fact that people come against you. Playing sports, the same thing. I play a sport, I learned that I can want to go over there, and there are people that are going to try to stop me from doing that. How many people learn that in life? How many people go through life and never feel that? Never feel, because that number 2 pencil does not have any resistance. I mean, it's just filling the Scantron, bro. Got the right hand, just move on. Unless you play a sport, you never feel somebody push against you. This is the same stuff. You put your voice out there, people are going to push against what you say. How you deal with that is based on how you learn to do it.
There's a YouTube guy I was watching. He talks a lot about like peptides and stuff like that. His name, Dr. Trevor Bachmeyer, I think is his name.
Okay.
And he speaks like he's talking like off. He's talking like in this direction. The camera's in front of him.
Right.
And he makes it look like he's almost talking or communicating with someone else.
Right.
And he talks in like an argumentative way, as if someone already got him riled up previously, but they didn't. He's just speaking, right? And what happened with this guy is his YouTube videos, they're doing really well right now. He's getting a lot of views and so forth, and a lot of action.
Yeah.
With this kind of negative undertone.
Yeah.
Well, somebody made AI versions of exactly what he's saying, but they got rid of the kind of negative undertone. And I clicked on this video the other day, and I was like, oh, that sounds a little bit like this doctor guy I was listening to.
Yeah.
It's like, this is really weird. But, to your point, and to everything we're talking about here today, man, what a big difference it makes when someone has some negative connotations
Yes.
hooked into. But I found the cleaner, quote unquote cleaner version to not be as entertaining.
There you go.
So it's kind of interesting. I mean, where we're going with AI just seems wild to me. I don't know what there might need to take some actions against some of what the hell's going on with some of that.
Well, I mean, to your point about the entertainment, how fun is it to like run a football from the 1st-yard line to the 100-yard line across the field with no one on it? That's kind of boring, right? You're like,
Right.
you just touchdown. But as soon as you put somebody in front of you that's trying to stop you from doing it, now all of a sudden you're enjoying this experience. Now there's like, oh, okay, cool. Let's raise the difficulty level. So there is something to be said about the enjoyment of that in us. Like, and some people are cut out for it. Some people aren't. And so, so when somebody comes with the energy and they're like, oh, they're doing the thing, and you're like, there's a curiosity, like, what's irking him, And that could be, we watch movies and like you're looking at a character and it's not just the script, but it's the context of the performance of that script. And you're uncovering like, man, what's beneath this character doing this in this way? And we're entertained by that. We're entertained by the undertones because we're entertained by the sort of the unknowns. If I know, it's boring. You ever watch a movie? Man, I remember somebody watched The Sixth Sense and they just happened to have a very acute movie IQ. He's dead.
Shit.
It's bro, you see, look at the disappointment. You see that? You see how you guys like, oh, come on.
Don't keep going though, because some people in this audience haven't seen The Sixth Sense, and you gotta watch that movie. So,
oh
stop.
yeah. Dang.
Yeah.
So, some people out here haven't seen The Sixth Sense.
Yep.
Great movie.
Great movie.
Yeah. So the entertainment comes from that. Because let's say you knew the story about why this person was acting like that, you probably wouldn't be as entertained by it. Like, oh yeah, this guy, yeah, he's just mad because, his mom said this when he was 2 and whatever. But you're like, yo, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? And so, the puzzle of it all. And, yeah, so I think the internet remains undefeated, bro. I mean, the things that people say, the turns of phrase that people have, the way people can comment, the creativity that goes into it, it's much more of a marvel. I find myself personally, and this is a personal thing for me, is a fascination in that.
All right, Mark, you're getting leaner and leaner, but you always enjoy the food you're eating. So how you doing it?
I got a secret, man. It's called Good Life Protein.
Okay, tell me about that.
I've been doing some Good Life Protein. We've been talking on the show for a really long time of certified Piedmontese beef, and you can get that under the umbrella of Good Life Proteins, which also has chicken breast, chicken thighs, sausage, shrimp, scallops, all kinds of different fish, salmon, tilapia. The website has nearly any kind of meat that you can think of. Lamb is another one that comes to mind. And so I've been utilizing and kind of using some different strategy, kind of depending on the way that I'm eating. So if I'm doing a keto diet, I'll eat more fat, and that's where I might get the sausage, and I might get their 80-20 grass-fed, grass-finished ground beef. I might get bacon. And there's other days where I kind of do a little bit more bodybuilder style, where the fat is, might be like 40 grams or something like that. And then I'll have some of the leaner cuts of the certified Piedmontese beef.
This is one of the reasons why neither of us find it hard to stay in shape, because we're always enjoying the food we're eating. And protein, you talk about protein leverage all the time. It's satiating and helps you feel full.
I look forward to every meal. And I can surf and turf,
Yeah.
I could cook up some, chicken thighs or something like that and have some shrimp with it, or I could have some steak. I would say, the steak, it keeps going back and forth for me on my favorites. So it's hard for me to lock one down, but I really love the bavette steaks.
Yeah.
And then I also love the ribeyes as well.
You can't go wrong with the ribeye. So guys, if you guys want to get your hands on some really good meat, you can head to goodlifeproteins.com and use code POWER for 20% off any purchases made on the website, or you can use code POWERPROJECT to get an extra 5% off if you subscribe and save to any meats that are a recurring purchase.
This is the best meat in the world.
And that helps me because I'm fascinated. But if once you remove the fascination or the curiosity from it, then like for example, real quick. So let's just like say like think about, we're gonna say the term like, yeah, I agree with that, right? But we're gonna do it 3 ways. So yeah, I agree with that, and just like just think about nodding your head, like, yeah, I agree with that. So go ahead, you say it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, cool. Let's now imagine you're shaking the head no. Same sentence. Yeah, I agree with that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
Yeah, feels-
I agree with that.
Okay, cool. What do you notice right away?
Just feels a little awkward.
Uncertainty.
Right. So, okay. Now, tilt the head like side to side a little bit, say the same thing.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, what do you notice?
Kind of agree with that.
Kind of agree with it, right? So it's like a little bit of a thing. Same words, but the embodiment of what you're saying changes it. And it's the same thing not only with speaking, but also with listening to people. So like you ever have somebody listen to you or ask you a question, you already know that they believe they got the right. Yeah, so what were you doing? Right? You can hear they don't care what I'm about to say. They already know what or they want to catch me up, or they want to prove that they were right? Mm-hmm. Versus, yeah, where were you? That geometry, again, we talk about shapes. So the shape of your behavior is shaping the way you're filtering the information. And so if you're looking like, man, what would make that person say that like that? Versus, yeah, I absolutely know this person's a jerk. Right? Totally different experience for you as the incomer, right? Mm-hmm. And so a lot of times it's not just about changing how people speak, but it's also changing how they listen and recognizing that it's like someone that sits with their face like this. And you're like, yeah, no wonder the person doesn't want to talk to you. Look at your face. Like your face is like, yeah, give me more of your bullshit, but just soften the face a little bit. The eyes raising up. That changes the shape, which does actually anatomically change things, because when you move the eyes and the ears and the nose and all that stuff, they're all connected. But also it changes the way people feel like, oh, I'll tell you more because there's an interest. But if you're like, now again, and I'm spitballing here for just if people want to pick up things. But if I want somebody to get a little bit quicker to the point, I will furrow my brow on purpose, because I'm creating that urgency. Like, make this make sense to me. Like, what are you doing? Right? Then becomes a tool. But it also in the same other direction. It's like, hey, because I have to put my body into a state that's congruent. So I can't, I'm really curious about what you guys think about what I'm thinking about with this face. Like, it's not congruent. Like, no, tell me more. Tell me more about, it doesn't work. So yeah, man, you change the shapes and you change the shapes and you change the shapes.
Get that fucking book, guys.
Yeah.
How can people be comfortable with eyes on them? Like, what are some of the steps? You start filming yourself, or where do you start? Man,
so what's funny is that I started off with people, not public speakers, but people who speak in public. So like a lot of service providers of, police officers of address special forces, things like that. And I wanted to work there first because I wanted to prove proof of concept, because performance already platforms you and attention is already built into performance. Mm-hmm. If I'm on a stage, automatically everyone's attention is drawn there and like da-da-da-da. And, I have to either earn that, keep or lose it. In private conversation, it's not a given. So I wanted to test it out in those environments first. But when it comes to speakers being comfortable with attention being on them, again, it's the same thing with the comfort of thinking. If I'm okay with having people watch me think, because that's all that, like, conversation, if we looked at conversation as not us exchanging absolute truths, but we're just co-thinking, and I'm okay with thinking on a stage, like, when you get on and you're like, hey, what's going on? I'm going to think through some things today, some things I want to say that I have thought through, some things I'm going to probably discover as I'm talking. And depending on how interactive it is with the audience, you have these opportunities. But the first thing is you have to. I would ask everyone to ask themselves these 3 questions. What did you learn about talking from the people who were your guardians? What did you learn about how did the people around you listen to each other? And what are negative consequences to talking that you've learned? So what you've learned about talking in a very general sense, like, oh, what do I know? Like words come out, people say stuff. How did your guardians talk? And what are the negative consequences of you talking? Because just talking raises blood pressure. They don't talk to you when they check your blood pressure because in the 70s they figured this out. So you can just be like, hey, how's the weather? And like, oh, you have hypertension. Like, no. So just speaking raises your blood pressure. So public speaking is a very brave thing to do because you're willfully raising your blood pressure in front of a bunch of people, which compromises you. It's a scary thing. And so the idea of getting comfortable with those eyes on them, I advise people to kind of learn or ask themselves these questions. Because if they get answers to those questions, they start to unpack the things that come up when they're confronted. Because an audience is a confrontation. And so it's like, oh, this, and it's a lot of their eyes on you. So when you learn like, oh, well, I had to clamor for attention because I had a bunch of siblings. Okay, you get on a stage. Your siblings aren't there. But if you have the mentality of like, I have to get my words out because they have to come out quick because, I got to get it. That behavior that you learned from when you were like 4, 5, 6 is now showing up as a public speaker. And the audience doesn't know that. They just think you're spastically erratic and nervous. If you watched your guardians talk to each other with either a certain argumentative communication style or maybe a little bit of regard and respect, then if you get on the stage and there's a certain sense of argument, that's what you expect your counterparts to do. So how do you come on? Well, I'm going to beat you to the punch because I know what I'm talking about and that's how I'm going to present my ideas today. Even though the audience may not give you that energy back, but that's what you've learned. And then you start to look at negative consequences of speaking. Let's just say, you get to some extremes, right? Like, you speak when spoken to, or shut up. Like, like your parents were, and we can explore, like sometimes people have like a more so abusive reactions. You get on a stage, you're afraid now if I say the wrong thing. See what happens is that you start to superimpose, you start to sort of deep fake. The audience becomes a deep fake of what you believe. So you take any audience and you put those heads on and you play that drama out. So, it sounds like a little bit like therapy. Mm-hmm. And it could be. But you start to wonder, you start to ask yourself these questions. And then what it does is it takes a little bit of I would take the pressure off and give yourself grace. Because I can only give as much grace personally as a human being myself. I can only distribute grace at a certain clip because it's just me. But the more people in the world that give themselves grace, the less I have to utilize my grace giving because I have tokens. Like last 2 people use my last 2 grace tokens, and now I'm giving you the business. But yeah, man, so with deciding to be a public speaker, deciding to open up your mouth in front of people because you have a great idea, because you have something of value in the world, you don't want your history to get in the way of your message. So it doesn't matter, where you've come from. And when I say it doesn't matter, it's not that it doesn't matter. What it is you are here now, so you're bigger and better than that because it didn't kill you. And you have options to readjust, rearrange, to recognize and edit in different versions of why those things happened, different versions of how you came to those conclusions or how the people that did the things with you or whatever came to those conclusions. That's what we're doing here because our voices are just going to echo through time and we just are our own echo chambers of our experiences. But what's beautiful about us is that we can change, that we can transform in a way that is both concrete, very physical with our bodies, and abstract with how we use our minds, which very much then connects back into our bodies. So that would be, It sounds like it requires a little bit of time, and it does. But I would rather give someone that to do than just say, yeah, set your camera up. Because you just set the camera up looking in that camera. If you don't know what that camera represents, if you don't know what those eyes are to you, then you'll just continue to do things as you've done them. But if you can find out what eyes on you actually means, doing a little history examination on yourself, it gives you a better chance of coming through.
Can you leave us with a little bit of poetry? Do you know why I just did that?
Doop. I don't know. Oh yeah, the fascia, like it's the different lick.
No, just tapping people it's a weird thing, but it's kind of addicting. If someone in conversation with you, they hit you a little bit.
Oh yeah.
I did it like kind of deliberately, but yeah, if someone you end up sometimes hitting them back. It's really weird.
Oh man, look, listen.
I mean, you're not slugging it out, but you're just like, hey, did I tell you about this? Right? You do it like 2-3 times, you find the other person's going to do that back to you, probably.
Yeah, right. Listen, look, man. Well, I find that to happen. Yo, look. You're having a conversation with a bunch of your guy friends, okay? It's like about philosophy. And then a pretty girl walks in. And all of a sudden, we're punching each other. Like, we was just talking about Socrates. Why are you trying to put me in a rear naked choke right now? Yeah. So that part, that can happen sometimes. But yeah, bro, I mean, that was a light tap. I mean, if you would have put a little bit more pressure behind it, I would have been like, yo, what's going on here?
Yeah, exactly.
That felt like more like a doop. I get you. Yeah.
It's like attention grabbing, you just kind of.
Yeah. Word. So this is going to be interactive. So I'm going to need y'all to participate. Okay, cool. So my name is Marshall Davis Jones. I train bodies to embody what they believe in. So what that means is it doesn't matter if I believe you. It matters if you believe you. So I'm going to need you to hear you speak you, because the words that are about to escape whatever change or breakthrough you're about to make, the wind out of your face, it could only be you. So before we leave, we will say, this is my house. What?
This is my house.
Okay, great. So stand up straight. You probably studied attention, but did I mention that posture comes from a word that means home? And if home is where the heart is, and you place your hand on your chest, place your hand on your chest, you should feel that inner knock. Are you in a knot? Is anybody home? Say it. This is my house.
This is my house.
This is my house.
This is my house.
So do you have enough living room? Or do you still call this a rib cage? Inhale. Do you smell what the rock is cooking? Or do you let your kitchen sink? Dishes covered in half-eaten dreams and spoiled ambition. Do you feel the inner knock? Or you in a knot? Is anybody home? Say it. This is my house.
This is my house.
This is my house.
This is my house.
The room with the bed in it. Are you in there sleeping on yourself? You hit the snooze, hit the snooze, hit the snooze. Or do you wake up with that carpe diem, with them thoughts last PM? You splash some water on your face because the man in the mirror, you're actually gonna be him, because you hear the inner knock. Are you in a knot? Is anybody home? Say it. This is my house.
This is my house.
This is my house.
This is my house.
So what do you have squatting in the garage? Collecting dust in the attic. Over there, in the palace, when you know that your palate is a palace, you understand that when you put your heart, when you put your house on the market, you know what the value of your spark is. You've done modeled remodeling as a role model, so model the role. Hear the inner knock. Are you in a knot? If anyone's home, say it. This is my house.
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 And if this is indeed your house, when you walk in, then you walk tall. Because when you walk in, that's an invitation to a walkthrough. Because you heard the inner knock and somebody was home, and that somebody was you. So when they come and knock on your door, you will open up your chest and say, welcome, this is my house.
This is my house.
This is my house.
And when you're ready, I'll show you around.
Strength is never weakness. Weakness never strength. That was amazing. Thank you. Catch you guys later. Bye.